Are you a sides guy?
Just potatoes and stuffing. Sweet potatoes can fuck all the way off.
Sweet potatoes, coined in brown sugar. And you take the little mini marshmallows and you put them all inside of one of those like oven-safe Pyrex dishes. And then you're going to come in with your creme brulee torch. And you're just going to give it a little love. Toast the top of that. You mean to tell me you wouldn't take a bite of that?
Well, then I will take it to the sink, cool it down with some ice cold water, and then throw it directly into the trash.
To another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bill, season ticket holder Drew Gear. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. And we've reached one of what I guess for some people might be one of the best weeks of the entire year, Chris. It's Thanksgiving week.
Oh, yeah. Number one holiday, Thanksgiving. All other holidays bow before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the GOAT holiday. All it is food, football, and political discourse at the dinner table.
Absolutely not. There's absolutely no place for that in my house. I got a question for you. What do you actually cook? See, this is the thing. I want to preface this. The reason I ask that for the listeners at home, Chris, I remember when Chris would cook, and Chris's diet consisted of he would bake salmon and he would pan-sear chicken. And those were the two things that Chris Kruger knew how to cook. And then he got a grill, and then he got a smoker, and now he's out here. He's fancy pants out here. He's been flirting with, Molly Hatchet style flirting with disaster, but pulling off some decent grub lately. And I'm interested to see. So, first of all, Thanksgiving, do you cook or not cook?
This year we're not cooking, which... Yeah, it kind of sucks. I did buy a turkey, and I am going to smoke it over the weekend. Here's the thing. I went to Tops because it's Thanksgiving week, and Tops, obviously, we all know is for poor people. So I went last night, and I bought a turkey. So I went, okay, it's Monday, so the poors, they haven't got their they haven't got
what an idiot.
They haven't gotten their paycheck yet. So that's like later in the week. It might even probably be Friday because it's a holiday week. You lose that day. So I knew go early in the week to Tops. They're going to have turkeys because the poors only shop at Tops. They're not allowed in a Wegmans. So I went to Tops and I got a butterball turkey, and I'm going to smoke that this weekend. I've never smoked a turkey, so we'll see how it goes.
You should already, what you should already do, I'm going to share my brine recipe with you. Now, let me walk you through turkey prep, okay? And for the listener at home who's like, oh, all they do is talk about tailgates, strap in. Now it's Thanksgiving discourse, idiots. Look what you did. You ruined a podcast. I'm going to so what I do is I make a rub that's based like a barbecue rub. It's got a dark brown sugar, smoked paprika. It's got garlic powder, onion powder. It starts off very much like a poultry, like barbecue chicken rub. And then you start to introduce your thyme and your rosemary and your sage, and you really get in there. And by the time you're done, what you've crafted is turkey seasoning that leans more towards barbecue than it, just as much as it does your traditional savory, herbaceous kind of flavors. Now, then you do a citrus brine. Okay, you're talking about some dark brown sugar, some salt, little cider, apple cider. You're talking about a couple gallons of water. You're going to boil that all down with some bay leaves, some whole peppercorns, pink peppercorns if you can find them, but whole peppercorns or a peppercorn medley, if you will. You put that all in a giant stock pot with some quartered lemon, some quartered lime, some quartered orange, and then 3 orange peels. Chris, I know your relationship with a Y peeler. Have you guys made up after the unfortunate finger incident?
No, I will never use a Y peeler. I don't own a Y peeler.
You threw it away?
I came back from the emergency room. I threw all of them away. There is no Y peeler.
So you come back, the peel of 3 oranges, you throw it all in a stock pot, 5 cloves of garlic, and you just bring it all to stir it, make sure the salt and sugar dissolves, and then you just bring it to a boil. Then you put that outside and just let it cool. Just out in the yard or in the garage or wherever you have a nice cold space. And then you brine that turkey for 24 hours. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to incorporate some extra flavor, but it's also going to make sure your turkey stays moist when you're smoking it. So that by the time your breast, you know what I mean? Because dark meat you could do forever, but you never want to dry out that breast turkey meat, because if you do, it's abominable. So you brine the turkey in a citrus-forward brine. You give it the barbecue rub. I promise you the gravy that you can make with those drippings becomes the craziest thing you've ever tasted. It'll blow the doors off your grandmother, maybe put someone in the hospital. I don't know. It's just that's Thanksgiving in the Gear House right there. Now, are you a sides guy?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely just potatoes and stuffing. Vegetables, go to hell. Sweet potatoes can fuck all the way off. Asparagus.
Hey, what if they're candied? What if I take the sweet potatoes? Hang on, whoa, hear me out. Sweet potatoes, coined in brown sugar. Do them in the pan, toss them, or baked in brown sugar. And you take the little mini marshmallows and you put them all inside of one of those like oven-safe Pyrex dishes. And then you're going to come in with your creme brulee torch, and you're just going to give it a little love. Toast the top of that. You mean to tell me you wouldn't take a bite of that?
Well, then I will take it to the sink, cool it down with some ice cold water, and then throw it directly into the trash. I'm simply turkey stuffing, potatoes. If you're from the South, mac and cheese is a side dish for Thanksgiving. And if we did that up here, I would have mac and cheese.
Why don't you just make mac and cheese?
No.
What do you mean no?
Have you seen the slate of games on Thursdays? This Thursday, the slate of games.
No.
Packers, Lions, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bengals with Burrow, and the Ravens. You have 3 great games throughout the evening. And then even Friday, Black Friday football on Amazon is Chicago and Philadelphia.
What does any of that have to do with mac and cheese?
Because I'm watching games. I'm not fucking cooking. I'm watching games. And then Friday, you also have the Egg Bowl, and then Texas A&M, Texas, if you're into college football. There's an excellent slate of games. I'm not slaving myself in the kitchen.
Underrated, overrated. Sides on Thanksgiving. The most underrated versus the most overrated. Hit me with it.
Oh, I'm going to say underrated is going to be mac and cheese because it's only a known thing in a certain section of the country. Overrated is probably stuffing. Jessica makes a stuffing that has mushrooms.
Ew.
And mushrooms can fuck all the way off. So like she'll make, when we're hosting Thanksgiving, she'll do 2 different batches of stuffing. One for me with no mushrooms, and then one with mushrooms. Because I think the first, we started dating July of 2020. Mm-hmm. I do believe we spent Thanksgiving 2020 together, and she made stuffing with mushrooms. She's like, "Do you want stuffing?" I'm like, "There's mushrooms in there. I will throw that out and save everyone at the table."
You're like, "Here, give me all of it so I can place it in the trash where it belongs."
Yes.
First of all, the moment you start incorporating legumes into things like stuffing, you've already lost. Like, it's over. Thanksgiving, you might as well cancel the holiday. Nobody wants that. Underrated, overrated for me, I'll say this. Underrated. Underrated is cornbread pudding. You want to talk about Southern. Now, my family being from Carolina, it's a staple in our house. And there's a secret to this, because cornbread, obviously you put it in the dish and you bake it, and it comes out as a bread and you cut it in slices. Cornbread pudding, the concept of it is you're going to add a little bit of extra milk, and you're not going to bake it all the way. You're also going to add a can of creamed corn to it, maybe 1.5 cans, because it's going to give it the extra moisture you need. It's going to give you some extra corn, and it does come out almost like a wet bread, which on paper sounds terrible, but when it's corn, like honey cornbread, man, it's what I imagine British people wish they were eating when they eat all that like wet, moist nonsense that they eat all the time. Like, what do they call them? Like puddings? They're like, "Oh yeah, that's a pudding." No, it's not.
Like, isn't that like a British thing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the Brits over there wish they could have Thanksgiving as hard as we do.
All
Yeah,
right.
Terry, I'm talking to you.
What time is it? I would say in Friday morning at 4:00 in the morning, we'll have a dissertation on pudding from Terry in our DMs.
Go make some toad in a hole. Get out of here. Actually, I would devour that. But overrated is cranberry sauce, especially if you are like my wife and you're dead set on like, I'm going to do it from scratch. I'm going to get the cranberries. I'm going to cook them down and sugar them, and I'm going to make multiple batches. No one cares. You go to the grocery store, you go to the aisle, you find the Ocean Spray canned cranberry sauce. You pour it into a dish. You don't have to do anything else. You just open and let it flop out. If it doesn't have, Chris, the rings in it from the can, I don't want to eat it. And then you know what you do after the meal's over? After you've cut yourself a fat slice of that just wriggly gelatin cranberry nonsense, you then get some mayonnaise. And you mix some mayo up with that, and that's what you make your late night turkey sandwich with. You slap a little stuffing on that bad boy, call it a sandwich, douse the whole thing in gravy. That's living. That is living. God, Thanksgiving might be the best. You might be onto something here. No gifts, no forced conversation. I don't have to. I'll just eat
just wait
until
till
I black
next
out.
month when we discuss the worst holiday of them all, Christmas.
So, guys, this is Chris's Super Bowl this week. Know that. Enjoy that. It's also kind of the Bills' Super Bowl. And before I digress, a happy Thanksgiving to you and your families on behalf of Montucky Cold Snacks and the Rockpile Report. This is also kind of the Bills' Super Bowl. Now, I know that's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it's not lost on me that the Bills have essentially removed all margin for error from themselves. For the foreseeable future, the Buffalo Bills have to win. They have to win, and they need some things to break their way. Right now, we sit as the 7th seed.
Because Jacksonville beat Arizona.
We sit as the 7th seed in the AFC. When this season started, did you ever foresee a world where the Buffalo Bills would be at the bottom of the playoff standings, looking up, with Kansas City nipping at their heels in the hunt?
Not a chance. I think the odd thing is, look, we're now officially in the wild card in the hunt graphic going forward the rest of the way on the broadcasts.
I did take a photo this past week of Kansas City in the hunt.
Well, here's the thing with Kansas City. They got the Cowboys on Thursday, and then the following week, Sunday night against the Texans. So you have, it's dependent on how the Colts fare the rest of the way. They got a tough schedule because Kansas City beat them. But if it's Chiefs wild card, Chiefs don't have a tiebreaker against the Bills, the Jaguars, right now the Chargers, and depending on next week against Houston, they might not have that either. So, I mean, it's, the margin for error is more narrow for the Chiefs based on the tiebreakers. The Bills, I don't see we're going to be a wild card team. That's
pretty much a given.
Yeah, it's wild card. There's no divisions out of it. It's wild card. And I do like our schedule, although we got to focus on Pittsburgh first, but the Cleveland game could be like a Houston game because they got a really good defense. And if Houston plays defense the way they did against the Bills, against the Chiefs, I like that matchup next week. But
at this point, where we sit, the Buffalo Bills have removed all margin for error from what they do here. And so with that, every single week now, you're going to watch people. It's going to be prevalent on social media. It's going to be prevalent on, I'm sure they're going to be talking about it on broadcasts. It's going to be about the Buffalo Bills and what their odds to make the playoffs are comparative to what's happening around them. And we sit here today. It feels worse than it actually is. It doesn't feel good, the place that the Bills are, because you're 7-4. But those 4 losses were humiliating. Not only were they humiliating, but also in those 4 losses, you suffered some pretty gnarly injuries. especially this last one where your whole team just got chewed up and spit out. And so now you're sitting here wondering to yourself, where do we go? Well, you sit at 80%. Today, according to the New York Times playoff prediction machine, it is an 80% chance for the Bills as of today, with no games being played in week 13, to make the playoffs. With a victory this week, the Bills can advance to an 88% chance to make the postseason. Now, that'll be as a wild card, and their odds to host the wild card are in the single digits still. But should this team lose, and then not just lose, but I went ahead and I took a look at the week, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, relatively, like, what do I think is going to happen? I'm going to go ahead and say the Chiefs beat the Cowboys. Like, if I'm just picking, I'm going to go down and pick winners. Chiefs, Ravens, Falcons over the Jets, Texans over the Colts, Dolphins over the Saints, Jaguars over the Titans, Chargers over the Raiders, Broncos over the Commanders, Patriots over the Giants. These are mostly conceivable outcomes, correct?
Christ. I'm sitting here listening to you read off all of the teams who either lost to or are in our space in the playoffs, and you're just reading off like Chargers versus Trainwreck, Jaguars versus Trainwreck. Everybody is playing a Trainwreck except us. We're playing Pittsburgh, who also has some skin in the game, not just for a wild card, but for the division.
So with that in mind, if these AFC matchups break this way, and the Bills happen to lose on Sunday, our playoff odds plummet to 53%. The odds of us missing the postseason altogether increase to 47%. Do you know that that's probably the highest our percentage of missing the playoffs has been since 2019, when we had to go to Pittsburgh and beat Duck Hodges on Sunday Night Football? And it was one of those games where you were like, okay, the Bills can either clinch a playoff spot here, or if they lose, like, they're in trouble. And
Duck Hodges is set for life with that contract he signed. Didn't PFF say he was the greatest quarterback ever?
PFF
Fucking
did love
idiots.
They did love them some Duck Hodges. But it's hilarious that here we are, 2019, so 6 years later, we're back in the same boat where you're traveling, national game of the week on CBS, national window, and with everybody watching, it's going to be you and the Pittsburgh Steelers trying to figure out who wants to make the postseason more. It's a hell of a thing. And when you take a look at what some of the most probable outcomes are, right now, in a vacuum, having no games played in week 13, according to the playoff prediction machine, the odds that the Bills go 13-4 are single-digit percentages. Even 12-5, it's only a 22% chance. 11-6 is the most likely outcome for the Buffalo Bills. And I almost think that's being bullish. And that's terrifying when you think about the fact that there are teams, Chris, that are out there who are going to, because of the weakness of their schedule, start stacking up wins. Some of the 5-win, 6-win teams right now. You are going to be pressured from here on out if you are the Buffalo Bills. And so every single game has to be treated with playoff game preparation. The problem is you as a franchise don't have the horses that you used to have. Just injuries have left this team. Injuries and inefficiencies in offense. Between the games they cost you and just the way that all of your injuries stacked up on top of each other defensively, I don't know what you do about that. You're stuck, but you still got to play the football games.
We still don't know about Spencer Brown.
Still do not know about Spencer Brown. And so if you're talking about starting Ryan Vandermark, which I guess as we get into the preview, we're going to have to talk about this.
Well, just for context, that is as of 6:53 p.m. Tuesday.
Yep.
We haven't heard anything on Spencer Brown.
It's a hell of a week to not have your starting tackle. Right? Like, that's a hell of a thing, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my question would be, because I don't, lay fan, where's TJ Watt lining up? Is he now going to be exclusive to whoever's in for Spencer Brown?
It could get really, really ugly here for the Buffalo Bills. And so with that, we get into our Week 13 preview. The Buffalo Bills at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The time, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard, and the place, Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Chris, Acrisure?
Never heard of it at all.
What are we doing?
Never heard of it's Heinz. To me, it'll always be Heinz.
The same way.
Now, I'll tell you this. One time I went to a hockey tournament in Pittsburgh, and I remember it was on the southeastern side of the city.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to drive through the city to the southeast side. I can remember, I don't know what it's like one of those mental things. It was my first time ever in Pittsburgh. You drive through,
with a mental thing? No.
Yeah. You drive through Pittsburgh. Everything is yellow. So you get through Pittsburgh and then you go, I have to pee. Because you just
such an idiot.
Subconsciously, I'm seeing all this yellow shit everywhere. Everything in that city's covered in yellow. Fuck that city.
One of my favorite things was how they Pittsburgh Steelers fans ruined that black and yellow song that year they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Green Bay Packers. They just overplayed the hell out of it. And I was so happy when they lost. But I'll tell you what, I hate the way that everything cool has to change. Like Joe Robbie Stadium is now Hard Rock Stadium. Ralph Wilson Stadium is now Highmark. I'm never going to call it that. Highmark sucks. Both is just a name and
what about
also
New
a
Era
healthcare entity. New Era Field. How long was it called New Era Field?
8 minutes.
And I refused. I was like, no, we're not doing any of that. It'll be Ralph Wilson Stadium till they tear it down. I'm sorry. Call me an old man yelling at clouds, but Heinz Field was way better than that. The Bills line is Bills -4. Somehow, inexplicably, people are still favoring the Buffalo Bills in these things. Chris, at this point, I have to assume the only reason that this continues is because there's people out there like me who undercut the market. And then for some reason, there's a bunch of idiots out there, I'm assuming Bills fans, just pumping up the books, betting on Josh Allen to win games.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, at least right now, the uncertainty of Aaron Rodgers. Because you're either getting the Bills against Aaron Rodgers or the Bills against Mason Rudolph. So I could see why it's set at 4. You don't know if Rodgers is going to play.
And on the call, we have Nance and Romo. Like I said, this is America's game. This is game of the week. And I guess that makes sense, Chris, if you're looking on paper. At the beginning of the season, when you're coming up with your matchups and you're saying, hey, who's going to do what window are we going to put what game in? Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers playing each other. I guess the question I have is, has it ever really been close? Like, Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers have played how many times in their career?
Do you count the Jet game? Because it was 4 plays.
I don't count that. So aside from that, there's the year he came back.
We got shut out in Green Bay. I don't know if Rodgers was still the quarterback.
No, Rodgers was the quarterback for that game. Okay, so that counts as Josh Allen, because it was 2018. That's Josh Allen's first game it would have been 2018. It would have been Josh Allen's first start in Green Bay.
Yeah, 2018. We lost 22-0.
22-0. And so head to head, I still feel like Josh Allen has this, doesn't he? I mean, we beat him in New Jersey, and then we waxed him at home. He got hurt for one of the games, missed the second one. So, yeah, this is the 5th time the two of them got together. Can you zoom in on these screens a little bit just so I can read them from back here? So, it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table in terms of Aaron Rodgers, but I do expect him to play. I mean, I think that's the expectation. When Mike Tomlin comes out and says, hey, he's a limited participant in the early portion of the week, but there's great optimism, he's going to play. And that's, like, I guess the question is, like, you need this game. How much do you think it was that they overlooked the Bears?
No, I think the Bears are for real. But, like, if you put Aaron Rodgers out on that field, I'm looking for somebody on the defense to look at Aaron Rodgers the way The Rock got looked at and Walking Tall when they were playing backyard football and that guy took out his knee. I'm going to need that to happen to Aaron Rodgers' hand.
That's if we have any horses healthy to do it. So Aaron Rodgers has a wrist injury. Also, Derek Harmon, defensive tackle Derek Harmon, out with a knee injury. He's already been ruled out. Same thing with Broderick Jones. I believe he had a stinger. It was a neck stinger, and he's been ruled out of the game. So the Steelers are going to come into this one without their left tackle and without their rookie defensive tackle, who was bringing a lot. I mean, he was playing like Deion Walker on steroids. And so those are some blows. DK Metcalf is listed as questionable. I don't know what his designation is. Joey Porter Jr. has a hip injury. And a part of me wonders is if this isn't kind of like what we've seen with like Terrell Bernard and Christian Benford, where these are guys who have just been nursing injuries for so long that it's impacting their play, but they're still available. Because Joey Porter Jr. has not had a good season. He's been talked about as one of the best young corners in football. Hasn't had a good season. And inconsistency from one week to the next week. And so a part of you wonders, hey, some of it's scheme, some of it's the new faces around him, but also how much of that is he just hasn't been healthy? I don't know. It's their injuries will be something to watch, but even then, the avalanche of them that the Bills are dealing with is just absolutely incredible. Obviously, Spencer Brown right now being designated as doubtful, even before the team has had to put out a practice like report or give any designations.
Some might say I've heard rumblings of possible IR.
Yeah, it's not ideal. And so with that in mind, it's interesting that Tylen Grable is being discussed as potentially being activated from injured reserve this week. And if he does get activated and he starts to practice in full and really gets into the swing of the offense, Chris, there's no way. Like Ryan Vandermark would still get the start there, right?
Yeah, I'm not doing Grable. No way.
Also, Terrell Bernard being placed on, essentially being announced as a candidate to be placed in injured reserve. Not ideal. Not that he was playing great football, but he was at least a warm body out there. When you factor in everybody else who's just like this litany of injuries, and Chris, scroll up here, Max Hairston in the concussion protocol. Hopefully he can clear, because at this point, we're a team that's running out of, oh good, look, Curtis Samuel's questionable. With what? I don't know, a bruised ego? Like, hey, I suck and I'm stealing money from the Buffalo Bills and their fan base. Fedarian Mathis, a guy we signed off the street to come in, he's hurt. Like, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to talent here. And I just don't know how you construct an NFL team.
That's why you sign a guy that didn't play last year.
I think I got a lot of the vitriol out of my system during the live show, so I'm good. We can move forward. I've said my piece. I think it's funny when you think about the context of this game, what it means for both teams, how shorthanded and injured both of us are. It seems like they're two coaches who have so much in common. Like, we're going to hear that 1,000 times, right? I wouldn't be surprised if they have a graphic cooked up specifically for it to talk about how Sean McDermott and Mike Tomlin played together over at Mount St. Mary's. I guarantee you, Seagram's bet that it comes up.
I mean, I'm on you with that, but I don't know if the bet is how many times does Nance bring that up? William and Mary.
William and Mary? Twice. 2.5 will be the line. Under or over?
That I would say under.
I'll take the over on that. I'll take that action. Well, unfortunately, Chris won't be in the room with me to watch it when I bring home the Seagram's victory on that. But for those of you who are bored, you can find us at the Cheektowaga Country Club. As myself, my family, some of my friends, we're going to go out, we're going to watch at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard, the first ever collaboration between the Rockpile Report podcast and the Cheektowaga Country Club, the Pittsburgh Bills watch party sponsored by Montucky Cold Snacks. How cool is it that we got them set up? We got them set up in the country club, and now they are the official home of the $3 Montucky.
We have to rephrase that. I got them set up.
That is true.
I put Mark and Garrett together.
You didn't just put them together. You forced them together. You foisted Mark onto Garrett.
Well, no, it was the other way around. I was like, Garrett, how would you like to meet our lawyer? And he's like, you guys have a lawyer? Yeah, he's on retainer. Right now we pay him in Schmidt. If you want us to pay him in Montucky, let's
make a deal.
Let's close the gap, make a deal. He owns a bar in Cheektowaga. He would love to have Montucky at his bar, and that is the work of me because, unlike Drew, I am a people person.
Oh, my God. You are the people equivalent of what would happen if Poison Ivy could get up and walk around and talk. Like, you just make everyone's skin crawl.
I know how to read the room. unlike you.
That might be one of the funniest things you've ever said out loud.
Dude, you don't know how to read a room at all.
I just don't care. There's a difference. Not knowing and not caring are two totally different things. But either way, guys, Cheektowaga Country Club, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard on Sunday. Come hang out with the old boy Drew Gear. We're gonna be there. Mark Smith's gonna be there. Iman from Q42 Barbecue, and we're gonna have a blast. We're gonna have some stuff to give away. It's gonna be a good time. Make sure you come out, support the Cheektowaga Country Club, home of the $3 Montucky, which in this economy, Chris, a $3 beer,
I'll sign up for that.
God. So anyways, back to the football game. It is funny to me that these coaches who have so much in common share a lot of the same problems right now. They have old rosters that are constantly beat up this season. They have teams that underperform wildly on the side of the ball that their defensive acumen is supposed to be there to balance out. And they're both had hot starts and yet are starting to fall apart down the stretch. Now, we're used to seeing this from Mike Tomlin, right? He's 2 wins away. Chris, all he needs is 2 more victories over the course of this year, and he will keep this absurd streak of his alive where he has not had a losing season in the NFL. But what is the value of not having a losing season in the NFL if all you do is make the wild card round and get buried by someone? Not just lose, but get buried. I think the statistic is, and you can fact check me if you'd like, the Steelers have been trailing by 21 points at some point in each of their last 4 wild card losses. That's almost impossible to accomplish. How are you that bad when you make the playoffs? But here we are.
I don't think they've won a playoff game since 16.
No, it's been forever. They're not, and a lot of it comes down to how they build their teams and how they prepare their teams. And I also think it comes from philosophy. You know, one of the things that people have complained about the Steelers under Mike Tomlin is that he's this old school hard-nosed coach who believes in iron sharpens iron, and they're still out there doing full practices, real full contact practices deep into the season. And then you wonder why their older players run out of gas towards the end of the year. Well, it's because you have a coach who has this old school throwback mentality about things. And they both seem to have the same affliction when it comes to risk-averse football. this concept that like, okay, well, we'd rather pound the ball and play low variance football in pursuit of hopefully what is a game where our defense can do enough and our offense can score just enough points to win. Our offense doesn't have to take any chances. We play it safe. We kick a lot of field goals. Like Chris Boswell in fantasy football, he's been in the upper echelon of the NFL ever since he got to Pittsburgh. I think any kicker who played for Pittsburgh would be towards the tops of the league in fantasy scoring, mostly because that's the ethos of the coach. I would rather be safe and kick field goals, nothing over the middle of the field, play it as safe as possible because we want to reduce turnovers. And Sean McDermott, you've seen flashes of that over the course of his career here as the Buffalo Bills head coach, and it hasn't been working for Buffalo lately. We have 3 games with 3 or more turnovers. That's crazy. And yet here we are. So this is going to be kind of a like movable force meets stoppable object kind of matchup where both coaches have the same flawed ideology about what football's supposed to be, how their team should approach it. And both of their offensive coordinators, Chris, I don't know if you could do worse than this. We all have our gripes about Joe Brady. Obviously, in our reaction show this week, we talked a lot about that. But I want to read you. This is a tweet from Ben Fennell on Twitter, Ben Fennell _NFL, where he says the Steelers did not generate a pass over 20 air yards in the month of November. 4 games, 0 for 11 with 2 interceptions. Meanwhile, Jameis Winston had 5 of those passes against Detroit on Sunday. That seems like a ridiculous set of statistics. Jameis Winston completed 5 passes of more than 20 or more air yards. You mean to tell me the Steelers haven't done it in a month? In a month, they haven't done it. Not by accident. A safety didn't fall down and a guy just got behind the defense and you uncorked one. And then the fact that you tried it and failed 11 times while throwing 2 long interceptions. It's not ideal. And then you stop and you go, well, wait a minute. Well, who's your offensive coordinator? Oh, yeah, Arthur Smith. Oh, no. Oh, no, I remember when that idiot was over there ruining the Falcons. Arthur Smith, who, like, when you think about when he was at the height of his power, Chris, what got him his job was the job he did with the Tennessee Titans. You know who their quarterback was?
Not Tannehill. Was it Tannehill?
Ryan Tannehill. And do you know who he was throwing the ball to?
Jonnu Smith.
A.J. Brown and Jonnu Smith. And do you know how far they were traveling on average from the line of scrimmage?
2 yards.
Less than 10 yards before the catch and generating all of their offensive yards after the catch. It's incredible how it's like, hey, I see a thing and it quacks like a duck and it walks like one, but I don't see any feathers yet, so I don't know if I can call it a duck. And now multiple teams later, you can look at Arthur Smith and go, that guy, that's a duck. This guy stinks. He's got one methodology. And now you can start to understand, though, Chris, if that's a guy and that's how Arthur Smith runs their offense, it makes sense that Mike Tomlin liked that guy, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey, you play it safe around the line of scrimmage. You don't really draw up like multiple 3-level concepts or anything deep that can really stress the safety position. And so because of that, if we're not taking deep shots, obviously we don't need a George Pickens. We don't need that. Why would we need that on our team? We might as well trade that guy away.
I'd love to have that.
It seems wildly improbable, but also how much does that play into the skill set of your quarterback at this point in his career?
Fuck that.
I know. This is it. This is where we're living. We have to watch. And so now you're talking about a game where Josh Allen, with all of his physical talents, is going to square off against Aaron Rodgers, who is clearly at the end of his career. The yards after the catch just aren't materializing, but it's what their offense is based off of. They do not take shots down the field. They went and traded for DK Metcalf. They decided this is what's fascinating about this team to me. They made the choice to get rid of George Pickens and bring in DK Metcalf, and then turned DK Metcalf into a short area wide receiver. DK Metcalf's not going down the field trying to catch deep passes. The receiver that's most often getting targeted are guys like Kelvin Austin. Do you know how big Kelvin Austin is?
5'11".
He's a little smaller than that.
5'10".
It's this offensive design is incredibly poor. And so in a game against the Buffalo Bills, when they have to throw the ball, the question is, can you get them into that position to force them to have to make those decisions? Because everything else, I mean, this is going to be like, this has all the hallmarks of what should be an old school throwback football game. Okay, when you think about the offense of the Steelers, they're probably going to have to use their swing tackle. He's sort of their Alec Anderson type, the sixth offensive lineman. He comes in and they run a lot of these big, heavy packages because, Chris, that's their ethos. It's, hey, let's run the ball out of heavy formations, get it down the field, and then take play action shots when we can. And otherwise, there's no spacing. There's no complicated pre-snap motion. There's not a lot of nuance to their offense. I wonder what the impact on their running game is going to be, though, because now that their left tackle is going to essentially be replaced by the guy, it would be like taking Alec Anderson out of the Buffalo Bills lineup last year. Who now steps in to fill that void to give you the ability to continue running those jumbo packages? You can say Darnell Washington, but they're already playing him. So now who?
Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah, but I don't know that he's the same run blocker. He's good, but also he's generally out there in those formations. So now what? Now who do you turn to? And does that impact how you choose to run the ball, even knowing that the Buffalo Bills are a bad run defense, especially with all the injuries we've absorbed? Like, it literally plays to the Bills' advantage by taking your wide receivers off the field at this point. Because if you spread us out, we're thin in the defensive back core, but also we're thin in the trenches and at linebacker. But if you reduce down and you get Dorian Williams more snaps out there, and you tell me that we can put out a group of Matt Milano and Dorian Williams, and then we can also throw Shaq Thompson in there, I actually like our chances a lot better than I do. If we can play base more often than not, it means less Teron Johnson, which I think we all got an eyeful on Thursday night. Like, that's over. The Teron Johnson era of playing decent football in a Bills uniform is pretty much over. And so with that in mind, I like the idea of playing a team that's going to allow us to reduce down into what is a base defense package. And depending on how ready he thinks he is, maybe this is a week you even roll the dice with a Shaq Lawson out there to play like a Sam linebacker type role for you for a handful of snaps. I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities here for us to win in the trenches if they can. They're beat up. They live behind running the ball. They don't throw the ball well. But again, I'm not optimistic because, Chris, what have they given me to be optimistic about? I said that we're one of the worst rushing offenses in the NFL. I go, oh, well, clearly the Bills can manage the line of scrimmage here. And they gave up 100 yards rushing to one of the worst rushing offenses in the AFC. So I have no hope. I just have ideas. That's all you can have at this point. I think that might be one of our takeaways, more of our keys to victory for all of our viewers. But I'll get to that in a minute. One of the other questions I have on offense before I talk about the defense, when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's something fascinating here about Darnell Washington. He can't catch, he can catch a ball once in a while, He's athletic enough to play tight end and to pull around formations and really lay some nasty blocks. But he's 6'6", 311 pounds. Why haven't they tried to move him to tackle? I say that as someone who watched Jason Peters go from third string tight end on the Buffalo Bills during the drought era to a perennial Pro Bowler for the Philadelphia Eagles after he forced his way out of Buffalo. Why, if you're a team like Pittsburgh that doesn't have stellar tackle play, wouldn't you be at least considering this?
That's a wild. I haven't thought of that. The only thing I think it's Washington. He made that play along the sideline where he just straight up dieseled everyone on. I don't even remember who they were playing, but he just shoved everyone aside. That seems like a good idea to move him to tackle. I don't know. Maybe it's Tomlin's old school mentality.
Could be. Just, hey, I need this movement tight end to come around the formation, get out there in space, and block for my guys because my offensive line can't do it. On the other side of the ball, when we're talking about the Pittsburgh defense, I listened to a little bit of Dan Orlovsky talking to the guys at One Bills Live today, and it's fascinating. They've given up more than 1,500 yards after the catch on defense, mostly just predicated on pre-snap motion. For a defense that made as many moves as they did, made all the trades that they have, how are they this bad? It doesn't make a lot of sense. They still have Cam Hayward. They still have, what's his name? Joey Porter Jr. They have Jalen Ramsey, who they traded for with the Dolphins in the offseason. They have Kyle Duggar at safety. They've got players. They just do not play cohesive defense. And motion pre-snap completely exacerbates that. And also, in the run, it's completely predicated on whether or not you can incorporate pre-snap motion to move their linebackers and then get them where you need them, because their linebackers don't flow to the ball as quickly as you'd like them to. Now, I remember when they had, Robert Spillane, I think. Is he still there? In fact, I think he's playing for the Patriots now. Give that a goog. So, New England Patriots, Robert Spillane, tackling machine. They no longer have these guys. Chris, does that guy have a chin? Go back. That guy looks like a thumb. Jesus Christ. He literally looks like someone painted a face on a thumb. What the hell am I looking at?
Do you want his New England photo?
He looks like he's melting.
His New England photo?
Yes. There's no way that's a real human being. When the Lord set out to cast a human being from a ball of clay, he probably saw what came out of that one and shattered it immediately. Good God. First of all, I don't think I'm being crazy when I say this, Chris. If you cut his face in half laterally, like under the nose, his nose to chin is longer than the tip of his nose to his forehead.
Could be thrown off by the do-rag.
It's crazy. This guy looks crazy. There's no way a human being, like, what in the evolutionary soup is this? Good God, Robert Spillane. I did not need this in my...
Might be related to Travis Wingfield.
He's what happens if Travis Wingfield is Steve Rogers before the Captain America experiment, and this is what he looks like afterwards. The chinless wonder. Ultimately, there are leaks and there are holes. I mean, look at what the Bears were able to do to this defense last week. There is stuff there. There's things you can work with. But again, why would I have any faith that the Bills can exploit any of that? What hope have they given me? You know, this is a team that just had the opposing head coach flat out come out and go, yeah, it's wild. I can't believe the Buffalo Bills decided on offense just to let our defensive ends tee off on their tackles like that. Nobody's ever done that before. Nobody's given us that look all season, and we made him pay for it. He was like surprised that the Bills took the approach that they did. Yeah. So with that said, it's hard to have faith about anything. And in a must-win football game for both teams, I think we're going to see a bunch of ugly throwback era football with a lot of running, a lot of ground and pound, a lot of big runs from both teams. Chris, let's just jump right into it. This week's keys to victory.
Wow, that's a lot of keys. Bigger the keychain, more powerful the man.
There's a handful of things I think the Bills can do to still find a way to edge out the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. The first one is they have got to break. Well, they have to hear the words that DeMeco Ryans said loud and clear. Hey, we have premier pass rushers. I have no idea why they didn't give their offensive linemen more help. You have got to chip TJ Watt. You have got to, Chris, I need to see in this game Ty Johnson play at least 50% of the snap count. Question.
Do they know how to chip?
Ty Johnson does. He's your best pass protecting line. I mean, who is the guy? Latavius Murray. I wish we had Latavius Murray for this game. I need a 6 foot tall running back who can just stand back there and be a.
What if they forgot because we don't do it?
You cannot. Either that or what you need to do is have Jackson Hawes and Dawson Knox. Like, you're going to have to run a lot of 12 personnel for most of the game. You're not going to go empty sets. You're not going to be looking at, and if you are, you're an idiot. Because all game long, Chicago was like, hey, we're going to chip. Hey, we're going to leave linebackers in. We're going to manage TJ Watt. And then the one play that they didn't, TJ Watt's immediately in the backfield for a sack, strip, fumble, touchdown. Like, what the hell? Hopefully, I don't know what Joe Brady does with his week. I can only imagine how he spends his week preparing for these games, but he better have been watching that.
Let's see. Let's try to go over it. All right. Monday night, I recap what happened the previous week.
Monday night, I go back and
I write down my notes. Okay, this is what I'm going to need to work on for this week. And then you go, okay, there was a lot of work. Tuesday's an off day for the players. So I'm going to go to Caputi's in Tonawanda with my gold chain. Me and Bobby Babich, we're going to hit the town at Caputi's.
Wednesday, I have to write letters to my my in-prison pen pal girlfriend. And then we have practice. Okay, well, I have to do some game prep. Also, I have 5 letters to write because I like to play the field because I'm a Tonawanda guy. Mm-hmm. I have to play the field. I've got women in penitentiaries all over the country. I'm just rolling the dice, hoping that one of them doesn't come up snake eyes.
Thursday, go back to Caputi's because they have a dart tournament every Thursday night. So I go compete in that, try to bring home North Tonawanda's finest 6 that I can find at the dart tournament. And make sure I put on my best Affliction t-shirt. Make sure it's extra tight. So
those flat brim caps. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like until he puts Joe Brady, I need you to start performing, or I'm going to start curling the brims of your hats. I'm just going to walk up and just be like, fix your hat, put that back, knock it off, pull your pants up, tuck that chain in. Chris, I think he needs that, right?
Yes.
I think everybody over at One Bills Drive needs a little bit of that. This is Joe Brady's game to win or lose. I need our offense to, so in that way, I need them to go heavy often, and I need them to give Josh Allen the protection he needs so that our wide receivers and our tight ends can get involved in the passing attack and make a difference. I'm interested to see what Dalton Kincaid's status is. Dalton Kincaid being available for this game changes what Joe Brady is capable of doing. The production splits for Josh Allen when Dalton Kincaid is available versus when he's not are wild. It's almost like you're looking at 2 different football teams. Also, do you think that they're dumb enough to roll out Brandon Cooks? Do you think they're dumb enough to just throw him out there?
Probably. You get to keep Coleman on the bench.
It's just such a fun thing. Like, can we keep how long can we bench Keon Coleman?
I'd bench him this week.
Should we bench him again, or is this enough?
I'd bench him this week in favor of Cooks. Cook seems more of a professional than Keon. I bet you that Cooks could get the chemistry down that he needs with Josh Allen on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday walkthrough for Sunday against Pittsburgh.
It's a hell of a thing. Second key to victory, you have to start the game fast. The way that we started against Houston was the way you need to start every game from here on out, but more so against the Pittsburgh Steelers than anybody else. Do you know that the Pittsburgh Steelers currently hold the record? Okay. 60 consecutive games with 7 or fewer points in the first quarter.
Checks out.
60 consecutive games. You have to start fast, because if you can create a little bit of distance, you can get them out of their offensive sets. You can get them off their rocker. You can force them out of their offense. You know, I don't have any keys to victory that involve our defense, because I'm just looking for those guys to survive. That's it. That's all I'm looking for, is for our defense to maybe accidentally force a punt or two here and there. That's how banged up and injured we are. This is going to be an offensive test every single week from here on out. Can you be the team that goes out and scores 30 points a game? Because if you can't, you're probably not going to win a lot of them. Against a team that starts as slowly, not just slowly, but historically slow. It's the second longest streak since 1950. You have to score points. You have to have at least 10 points, if not 14 by the end of the first quarter. And in an effort to facilitate that, the other thing you can't do if you're the Buffalo Bills, if I'm thinking about how I'm going to win this football game, it's sticking to your game plan and not panicking. One of the things that's been synonymous with all of these losses we've sustained, especially the really embarrassing ones, is that it's clear James Cook is one of the best players on the field anytime he's out there. And yet, as soon as the Buffalo Bills face a little adversity and get behind on the scoreboard because our defense can't hold the opponent off, we pivot and we become this pass-heavy team, which is the complete antithesis of what Josh Allen was during his MVP season. During his MVP season, we were a run-heavy offense that only asked Josh to do a little bit of this. Use your legs every now and again. Be a pocket passer. Take what the defense gives you. This season, we've done the complete opposite. We've taken James Cook and Ty Johnson and Ray Davis out of the game completely. As soon as we face any adversity and we've become this pass-heavy team, that's not our strength. Look at the way the wide receiver core was built. And a part of me, for as hard as I've been on Brandon Beane, as hard as we all have been, has to ask the question, did Brandon Beane build this football team assuming that his offensive coordinator was going to run things the way that they ran them last year? The offense is driven by the offensive line and the running back and your quarterback's legs. And then, having an underwhelming wide receiver core isn't that crazy. There was no way you could have known that your offensive coordinator was going to all of a sudden try to go out there and throw the ball 30 times a game. Yeah, we're not equipped to do that. I'm not, at this point, nobody's above having aspersions cast to them, but you have to stick to the script if you're Joe Brady. Even if you go down by a score and a half, 2 scores. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. This past week, the Chiefs could have panicked, down 20-9. They kept running the football. They kept running the football. And they kept the Colts honest and set up some shot plays down the field that ended up changing the course of the game, and they go on to win in overtime. You have to stick to your strengths. If you abandon them, then you've already lost the game. That's high school football. That's peewee football. I don't know why we're having to talk about this when it comes to the NFL and our offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, but this is what it's going to require this week. Stick to your guns, even if you fall behind in the scoreboard. And if you fail, Chris, this one The wheels come off this thing if the Bills lose this week.
Well,
Because now your
luckily
balls
for
are really
luckily
in the
for the
bad side.
Bills, it's a short trip. So if Brady fucks up, you can tell him to walk back to Buffalo. It's not that far.
Leave him there the way Alabama left Lane Kiffin at the
At the gate
gate.
where there's USC.
No, they left Lane Kiffin at the national title game, and they just left without him.
Oh, that also checks out.
What a time to be alive. Guys, this has been fun, but we got to get the hell out of here. Make sure you stop out at the Triple C and say hi this weekend, and happy Thanksgiving to you and yours on behalf of the Rockpile Report. But for tonight, we got to get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger, and this has been your Rockpile Report. Go Bills.